we've been surveying investors for 7 years about what's kept them from accessing crypto. And you might say, or you might imagine, it's the volatility, it's the negative headlines, I don't know how to value it. All those things are very real. But the number one thing people said for the past 6 or 7 years has been regulatory uncertainty. People didn't want to stick their neck out and invest in an asset that sure has had spectacular returns, but where the SEC and Treasury and the government is not certain it has a place in our financial future. That's completely changed.
This is an exciting time for cryptocurrency investors. Bitcoin has been flirting with the $100,000 level. The incoming president has promised to be much more crypto-friendly. And the influx of mainstream funds has given investors easy access to a market that used to be very difficult to target. But what comes next for crypto? What could follow Bitcoin 100K? Joining me to share some unique and timely insights is Matt Hougan, his Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise Asset Management. Matt, welcome to the podcast.
I'm so excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad I could have you on here. I know you haven't been on the podcast before, so I guess to kick things off, I wanted to give you a minute to talk a little bit about yourself and your background and what it is Bitwise does if people haven't heard of the company before.
Sure, absolutely. Bitwise is one of the largest specialist crypto asset managers in the world. We have more than $11 billion in client assets that we look after across ETFs, funds, staking services, and active strategies. We've been in this market since 2017, so we've seen some bull markets and some bear markets and some bull markets and some bear markets. It's wonderful to be where we are today with crypto now moving firmly into the mainstream. It's a very exciting moment. My own background, I've been at Bitwise for 6.5 years now. Before Bitwise, I was the CEO of ETF.com and helped create the first ETF ratings and analytics and data service, the largest conference and media space. So my background is TradFi. For the last 6 years, I've been crypto native, and I hope to put sort of the best of those two worlds together.
Excellent. And I mean, it really is interesting to see how things have kind of merged, you know, and what used to be a niche market that, again, was hard to access, a lot of people weren't involved with unless they were a specialist, is now open to the masses. And I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about that transition and your role in that.
Yeah, absolutely. The real key mark of that transition was the launch of spot Bitcoin ETFs in January of this year. You know, before that, you could buy crypto through an app, you could buy crypto on your phone, but you couldn't access it in the same way you access traditional stocks and bonds, which is through your brokerage account in ETFs and funds that have the protection of regulators. And so Bitwise, amongst others, launched spot Bitcoin ETFs in January, and the response has been overwhelming. As I mentioned, I was the CEO of ETF.com. Prior to the Bitcoin ETF launch, the fastest growing ETF of all time was the Qs, the NASDAQ 100 Qs that many people use to invest in technology. That launched in 1999 and pulled in about $5 billion in its first year. On these Bitcoin ETFs, we're up to $30 billion in flows. So not just the fastest of all time, but 6 times bigger than number 2. It just shows that there's tremendous demand to access crypto in a safe, low-cost, familiar format like an ETF.
And let me talk a little bit about the lineup of products that you offer. I mean, it's not just Bitcoin, right? In both the private, publicly traded, fund market and private funds, correct?
That's exactly right. Our first product, the one that we consider our flagship, is actually an index-based product. It's called the Bitwise 10. It holds the 10 largest crypto assets weighted by market cap and rebalanced every month. Our view of crypto is that this is a new disruptive technology. It's hard to know exactly how it will turn out, right? One of these could be Facebook and one of them could be MySpace. And so we launched this index product so you could have exposure to crypto without having to pick and choose winners. That product still exists today. It's about $1.5 billion, but it's not yet available in an ETF. We also offer a variety of other strategies. We have spot Ethereum ETFs. We have futures-based ETFs. We have crypto equity ETFs. We have an active hedge fund. We have private solutions. The goal is investors want someone they can trust in crypto. Bitwise has been in this market for 7+ years now with a sterling track record of shepherding billions of dollars in client assets. Whether they want just Bitcoin, an index strategy, an active strategy, Bitwise wants to be there for them.
Absolutely. Matt, I want to ask you about this really incredible trading action we've seen in the Bitcoin cryptocurrency space recently post-election, but all really throughout 2024. What's driving that? What are some of the key drivers that have given us such a powerful market for Bitcoin and for crypto in general?
Yeah, we've been surveying investors for 7 years about what's kept them from accessing crypto. And you might say, or you might imagine, it's the volatility, it's the negative headlines. I don't know how to value it. All those things are very real. But the number one thing people said for the past 6 or 7 years has been regulatory uncertainty. People didn't want to stick their neck out and invest in an asset that sure has had spectacular returns, but where the SEC and Treasury and the government is not certain it has a place in our financial future. That's completely changed. It started to change with the launch of an ETF. Once you have ETFs and you have firms like BlackRock building in the space, it's probably not going away anytime soon. But as you mentioned in the kickoff, the election was a game changer. We have a pro-crypto president. We have a pro-crypto Congress. We're going to have a pro-crypto leader of the SEC. All of that regulatory uncertainty is stripped away. And that means investors can look at this asset and say, well, on a fair playing field, do I want some exposure to it? And what we're seeing is a lot of people are looking at an asset that has low correlations with stocks and bonds, high historical returns. They can add to their portfolio at like a 1 or 2% level, and it can increase their risk-adjusted returns, at least on a historical basis. And that's driven billions in flows.
I know it's all a little bit of a crystal ball at this point because the new administration hasn't even taken office yet officially, but it's going to happen in 25. So what are some of the concrete ways the regulatory structure or the investment landscape for people, individual investors, going to change as the next 12 to 18 months kind of unfolds?
Yeah, I think there's probably two things to focus on. The first is that the crypto industry made huge progress over the last 4 years. Prices in Bitcoin are up 400+%. We've seen BlackRock and others enter the field, but it's faced such aggressive regulatory headwinds that it's kind of been constrained. If you were an entrepreneur looking to build in crypto, you might have chosen to go somewhere else because of the regulatory risk in that space. That's been washed away. So I talk about us entering a golden age of crypto. That's because all the entrepreneurs and all the VCs who were tempted but on the sidelines are now going to come onto the field of play. And I think you're going to see a million applications unfold. The other thing I would expect is, look, we now have access to spot Bitcoin and spot Ethereum in ETFs, but there's a lot more in crypto. There are many exciting crypto assets with their unique value propositions, making their own traction in the market. My guess is that assets beyond Bitcoin and Ethereum will start to become available to everyday investors and institutional investors, and you'll see some excitement in those areas as well. So we're finally going to see what crypto can really do when it's on a level regulatory playing field.
How mainstream do you think crypto is going to become over the years? Is it going to be one of those things that always is sort of relegated to put 2% or 3% or 4% above your portfolio, or is this going to be one of those things that ultimately, in your mind, becomes like stocks, bonds, and other mainstream assets?
It's going to become like stocks, bonds, and other mainstream assets. And let me give you 3 quick examples of what I mean. For one, I think Bitcoin is going to become as common in portfolios as gold. Bitcoin is like gold, but has many advantages and some disadvantages. But if you look at people under the age of 40 or 45, they vastly prefer Bitcoin to gold. So I think Bitcoin is going to become, fill that same role as gold, but in an increasing number of portfolios. I also think you're going to see Wall Street banks building aggressively in this space and taking assets that were previously in the traditional finance world and moving them into the crypto world. We're already seeing this through money market funds, which in crypto we call stablecoins. They're not quite the same, but very similar. That's become a $170 billion market. We're also seeing them tokenize funds and move them on blockchain rails. It could be someday you're in your Schwab account and you could buy a traditional money market fund on the old rail, or you could access the same thing in a crypto-enabled format, except for the crypto one is faster, cheaper, better. And I think we'll see people migrate there. And then you're going to see applications that you might not even know are crypto on the back end, but are using crypto to provide services you can't provide in the traditional format. We actually got a taste of that last one in this election. Many people heard of Polymarket, the prediction odds market that was forecasting a Trump victory when the pollsters were saying it was 50-50. That was a crypto application. It's built on the Polygon blockchain, which settles to Ethereum. Activity there directly benefits crypto investors. So you're going to see that time and time again, sort of just an application, but in the back end, it's crypto. That's going to become very commonplace.
I'm glad you brought that up because I definitely did want to touch a little bit on the underlying technology and some of the use case arguments there, besides just the investment case. What are some of the other things? You mentioned Polymarket, and I was going to ask about that anyway, so great that you brought that up. Other things that you're seeing out there that are kind of interesting and unique and that you think are going to be, a big story over the next, again, year and a half.
Yeah, sure. Polymarket's a great example, but I'll give you two on two different sides of the spectrum, very serious and very fun, because you get both. On the very serious side, crypto enables frictionless money, and frictionless money that can move internationally. So I mentioned stablecoins. Stablecoins are an incredible killer app. They put a US bank account in the phone of every person around the world. And if we look in countries that are facing high inflation, see people using crypto-enabled stablecoins to get access to the dollar that they can't get through a traditional banking account. If we look in regions that have difficulty moving money efficiently, like sub-Saharan Africa, you increasingly see stablecoin use for business-to-business payments because it reduces costs by 1%, 2%, 3%, and it speeds up efficiency by 1, 2, 3 days or weeks. We have this nice financial system in the US, and we forget that not everyone does. Crypto enables that to be exported to the world. The other side of the spectrum, which I would point you to, I bet the most popular video games next year or the year ahead are going to be based on blockchain technology. Now, what do blockchains do for games? If you have any kids, you've probably played Fortnite. They're probably buying skins and other items in Fortnite, but those are captured within the Fortnite ecosystem. What blockchains allow you to do is to own property independently of the ecosystem, so you can move it from, let's say, Fortnite to another game or another game. I think that's going to revolutionize the gaming industry. That's just one example of how blockchain is more than just money. Yes, major monetary implications, right? Frictionless global money, but also fun applications as well. We're going to see both grow substantially.
Got it. If people are looking to get involved in the crypto space, again, from an investment standpoint, are there any cautions, any things that if somebody's not there yet that they need to know about when they essentially get onboarded, for lack of a better word?
Yeah, I would focus on two things. The first is this is an extraordinarily volatile asset, right? I do think we're going mainstream. Volatility is declining, but it's still more volatile than your average stock or bond. And that means you need to think about your portfolio sizing. If you're going to invest 1%, 2%, you can probably hold out the ups and downs. If you put 20 or 30% in your portfolio and we have a big drawdown, you might panic and sell at the bottom. So I would keep that very much in mind. The second is that crypto is still a place where reputation matters. Yep. There's the old saying, don't go to the cheapest heart surgeon, go to the best. That's still true in crypto. They're great solutions. ETFs are a great solution for many investors, but there are also some, let's say, less savory solution providers in the crypto space. I would just caution to be careful about that.
Great. Matt, as we get here to wrap up, you're going to be joining us for the 25 Money Show Traders Expo Las Vegas in February. Can't wait to see you there. Can you give your viewers of this episode a little bit of a sneak peek about what you're going to be talking about there? I know that officially your title is Crypto, the Future of Finance.
Yeah, I think we're really going to focus on the outlook for crypto as an investment and all the different ways it's going to disrupt the financial ecosystem. I've seen finance and how we invest change dramatically, right? ETFs supplanted mutual funds, something very few people expected. The change from traditional finance to crypto-enabled finance is going to be even bigger. I'm going to talk about what exactly that will mean and also what it means for you as an investor.
Excellent. Well, Matt, thank you so much for your insights. Viewers, if you'd like to learn more from Matt, again, he's going to be speaking at the Money Show Traders Expo Las Vegas that runs February 17 to 19 at the Paris, Las Vegas. You can find out more details and click on the link below if you're interested in registering. And Matt, exciting times. Glad we had some time to chat, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Can't wait to be there.
Take care.
Bye.